Welcome to Worthwhile Watches. I'm Rob. Getting right into it today, this is sort of a first impression mini review of this limited edition Islander cheapaudioman Rocktopus, model ISL-256. This watch was released in mid-July, and I believe it sold out within a few hours. If you're not familiar, cheapaudioman is a YouTube channel that focuses on reviewing mostly affordable audio equipment. And he also has a watch channel, The Cheap Watchman. You should definitely check that out if you haven't already. Anyway, this is a collaboration that features some very interesting design elements. But before we get into that, let's get some quick specs out of the way. This watch features Islander's version of the Seiko SKX case, which measures about 42 millimeters. I measure just over 42 millimeters depending on where you measure. Lug-to-lug measurement is about 46 millimeters, and I measure the thickness at 13.5 millimeters. Lug width is 22 millimeters, and the bracelet tapers to 18 millimeters at the clasp with a 20 millimeter clasp width. The weight, sized for my 6 3/4 inch or 17 centimeter wrist, is about 165.6 grams. This watch comes in the standard Islander box with a pillow, but I noticed they seem to have stopped sending warranty cards, and now they have QR codes in the box with instruction and warranty information. Getting into the details now, there are some really cool design elements going on with this watch, all referencing turntable equipment. Some of you might not ever even have used a turntable before, but believe it or not, back in the old-timey days, back in the 1900s, we used to listen to music on spinning vinyl discs. And the dial of this watch is meant to resemble a record, with grooves and a center label, which in this case displays automatic, and the water rating of 200 meters or 656 feet. It also says 180 grams, which is a reference to the highest quality vinyl records, which are slightly heavier, leading to less warping, along with more stability when resting on the turntable. The watch, with all links included, weighs about 172.5 grams, so the watch is pretty close to 180 grams itself. Minute markings appear along the outer edge, though they are a bit difficult to see being gray on gray, but this watch is about style over function for sure. The Islander logo just under 12 o'clock is also grayed out, along with the cheapaudioman logo above 6 o'clock. This was done to keep the focus on the record grooves of the dial, rather than the branding. A subtle red outline surrounds the cheapaudioman logo and the center label, giving it a slight pop of color. Another record influence is the bezel. The bezel has nice knurling, which offers a decent grip, though it could be a bit grippier. Bezel action is good. It's the typical Seiko bezel action, softer, quieter clicks rather than loud, crisp clicks. Alignment seems to be very good on this one. The bezel is marked at each 5 minutes, with minute marks for the first 15 minutes, and a lume pip protrudes from the bezel at 12 o'clock. The only numbers appearing on the bezel are 33 and 45, which are, of course, two of the common RPM speeds of records, the other being 78 RPM, but dive bezels only go up to 60, so that one had to be left out. Sorry, 78. Most striking is the second hand, which is a very nice little rendition of a record player tone arm. It has a really nice level of detail with a counterweight and a white-colored lumed cartridge at the end with a tiny blue tip. This is a very cool and well-done touch. Speaking of lume, this watch has an unusual lume effect in the dark. The hands are fully lumed, including that little cartridge on the second hand. The center circle is also lumed, along with the 33, 45, and the lume pip on the bezel. This makes for sort of a wacky asymmetrical lume pattern that is very interesting. Maybe not the best for time telling in the dark, but very cool. This watch has no date function, so it's nice that the movement they chose is the Seiko NH38 no date movement, so there's no ghost date position when setting this watch. Just unscrew the crown, pull it out one position, and set the time. The NH38 is an automatic hacking and hand-winding movement with a 21,600 vibration per hour beat rate, or 6 ticks per second. This one came running a little on the fast side, but well within the specs for the movement. The Caseback is another interesting and unique feature of this watch. It features the mascot of the cheapaudioman channel, the Rocktopus. It also includes the Islander and cheapaudioman logos, the words limited edition and Rocktopus, and the serial number. This was a run of 100 watches. And last, I need to mention the Clasp. The Clasp has an Islander logo on the foldover and a cheapaudioman logo just underneath on the clasp itself. Unfortunately, in my opinion, the Clasp is one of the weak points of this watch. It's nicely built and functions well, but has only 3 holes of micro adjust. The bracelet also has no half links, and the oyster-style links are quite long, which means this bracelet has inadequate adjustment for me. I can't wear this watch all day without it being too tight or too loose at some point, and no way to correct it without tools. It's currently too loose on the tightest micro adjust hole, but removing a link makes it too tight on the loosest micro adjust hole. I've gotten spoiled by my other watches with tool-free micro-adjust clasps, and a watch this chunky and heavy really needs to fit correctly in my opinion. It should have at least 4 holes, and half links would be nice too. As cool as this watch is, I might not be keeping it, only for one reason, and that's how it wears. The lack of adequate micro-adjust or half links means it just doesn't wear comfortably for me. I could probably put it on a strap, but I prefer bracelets on dive watches. I really like the record player design elements, and that second hand is awesome. It's always a shame when a watch would be a worthwhile addition to the collection, except for one major issue. I'll probably end up selling this one. Hopefully it will go to someone who can actually enjoy wearing it and put it to good use. Hopefully while jamming out to their vinyl collection. But what do you think of this design? Is it cool or is it too much? Once again, thanks for watching, and whether your watch fits properly or not, make your day worthwhile.